And here we are at Dub Talk Raceway for the first annual Team Cool Car Derby. The rules are simple. We keep talking and the prize is your entertainment. I'm Roots of Justice, your announcer for this evening. Let me introduce you to tonight's racers. First, we have car number 1, Adult Language and Situations. He was banned from the European circuit for his saucy mouth. Listeners of the broadcast should be advised to send the little ones to bed, for whenever he opens his mouth, trouble ensues. Car number 2 is Spoiler Alert. She has seen all of Appare-Ranman and is absolutely willing to tell you the juiciest parts of this anime series. If you're interested in watching this cartoon series, I would suggest waiting to listen to this broadcast until you have. Next up is car number 3, Personal Opinions. We on this episode have our opinions, and they may not reflect the Dub Talk Raceway as a whole. Please bear this in mind. Hang on one moment as I am waiting for the rest of the roster and... Wait, that's it? 3 cars? Really? Doesn't seem like much of a fun race if it's only 3 cars. But you know, it should be a fun episode nonetheless. Enjoy!
Hello there, one and all, and welcome to the Dub Talk Continent, where tonight we're gonna have the Transcontinental Dub Derby, where we're gonna go from the hellish pits of My Sister, My Writer that's not even dubbed. Fuck. Shit! You know what? Fuck it. This is the intro now. I'm not even trying anymore. Hi guys, welcome to Dub Talk. It's Megan. It's tonight with me. I have the cool car is here to ride once again. We've descended from space. We are no longer starblazing it. The weed high is runned off. We've traded, based on how colorful this show is, we've traded in the weed for acid. So with me tonight, I have Spaceman Hardy.
Dude, where's Yamato?
I have Roots of Justice.
Listen to me, I'm on old-timey radio!
And I have Amon.
Well, looks like those rascally Dub Talk hosts are at it again.
That's right. Tonight we have kicked a British woman out of her phone box and decided to go back in time to the old-timey West, where Clint Eastwood could hang 'em high, and hi, Mom. Okay, Mom, do you want to describe on air who, like, your old-time crush was in Westerns? Alright, I love you, Mom, thank you.
You have a very different relationship with your parents than I do with mine.
I had to get my unabashed horniness from someone. Anyway, back on track, you could say. God damn it, I hate myself. Back on track, tonight we are here to talk about Appare-Ranman, the 2020 original anime from acclaimed studio PA Works, who did series such as Sakura Quest, Shirobako, the movie Makuya, and something last year called Fairy Gone.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We don't talk about that one.
Sorry.
Fairy Gone? You mean like fairy tale, right?
No,
that's A1 Pictures.
This one has a much more muted color palette.
Mm-hmm. It's JoJo's, but without color.
Oh, that episode I hosted for the show that's kind of...
However, Fairy Gone probably respects its women more than Fairy Tail.
That's true.
Yes.
And at least King of the Hill is on Hulu.
What?
I'm just saying.
You know what? Everyone should watch King of the Hill because that is Texas the anime.
It's true.
Sadly, this anime did not go to Texas, but it did go through many parts of the West, including Denver, which I'm surprised nobody got Mile High there. Anyway,
that is what we call a roundabout joke.
Thank you, old-timey Patrick. I've got a plate of wingies. So let's go over the summary of Appare-Ranman. The summary is as follows. Set around the start of the Meiji era in Japan, an eccentric Here we go. Set around the start of the Meiji era in Japan, an eccentric inventor and second son of a respected merchant family, Appare Serrano, decides one day to set off on an adventure. However, the samurai Kosume Ishiki is tasked with keeping Appare's eccentric behavior in check, because Appare broke out of jail. While trying to drag Appare back to Japan, Kosume accidentally strands the both of them at sea until they are saved at the last moment by a passing American steamship. Now stuck in Los Angeles with no money and no easy way to return to Japan, Appare and Kosume decide to enter the Transit America Wild Race, where Appare gets the chance to build a custom automobile and Kosume gets the opportunity to earn enough money to return home. The two of them will have to work together while fighting off other rival racers, bandits, and other challenges they try to win. And along the way, we're going to run into a man with beautiful eyes, your drunk uncle, Native American racism, a giant bulky himbo who might just be a Disney princess, a one-woman army, kung fu, the French, and the world's greatest drinker. So tonight we are here to discuss the English dub of the 13 episodes of Appare-Ranman, a dub that came out for Funimation, and originally, had the world not gone into shit, we would have been covering this like 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm. Not wrong.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, Appare had started in spring of 2020, got like 3 or 4 episodes out, and then stopped because of the human malware. And then it came back.
Yeah, in
and
fact,
it got...
if I recall correctly, it was announced by Funimation, and then it had its dub date announced for like mid-April, and then human malware.
Mm-hmm.
But when the dub did
Literally,
eventually resurface, they hit it once a week. So it did not miss a week, actually.
Yeah, this was, I think, one of the few dubs that actually went like week to week without ever missing a date.
Right.
I remember Patrick was literally at my house when we saw the trailer for this, and we kept rewatching the trailer.
Oh, it was just so good.
And I immediately declared that Team Cool Car would ride again, because, frankly, this is a show that appeals to all of us. And yeah, it's awesome. Before we even go into the dub, like, even if you're not a dub watcher and somehow you found this, and I don't know why you're here, welcome.
But I mean, hi, we got cookies. You can have some.
Yeah.
Like, this is just a show that you should just genuinely check out because it's that good. It's fun. And that's what we miss in anime sometimes.
And that's especially what we miss in 2020 is fun.
Yeah. And the ability to drive your car across race with your friends and, I don't know, maybe, like, yeet a small child into a pool.
I mean, who doesn't like doing that?
Just you take the boy and you yeet him. Alright, and let's just yeet ourselves into the directors and writers for this show. Directing this is PA Works' biggest American fangirl herself, Caitlin Glass. And she is assisted by Sean Gann. The writer of this is Jared Green, who was supervised and helped out by Tyler Walker. Caitlin Glass you'll know as the director for series such as Soccer Request, Fairy Gone, and Shonen Maid. Sean Gann has assistant directed on Fruits Basket the second season, Radiant, and Soccer Request. Jared Green you'll know as the writer for series such as Case File, 221 Kabukicho, Stars Align, and Sorcerer's Stabber Orphan, the 2020 remake. And Tyler Walker has done scripts for Ace Attorney, Dr. Stone, and Samurai Warriors. So let's do Amon, then Hardy, then Roots, and then me.
Okay.
Alright.
I'm gonna try to quietly eat some wings.
Sounds good. Where do I start with this dub? I think we already said this show's great. It's someone they come up to me and they say, Amon, what if Cannonball Run but anime in the Old West? And I'm like, I'm intrigued. What about it? And yeah, it turns out I like the show a lot. And the dub's a real big part of that. This is a really, really well put together dub. I especially want to praise the writing. I think the writing on this is really strong and snappy. The banter is really well done. It is very consistently funny. It hits its dramatic moments really well. And it is a blast to hear these people bounce off each other. I think it's been really, really well cast. We'll get into the more specifics as we hit various characters, but like everyone fits their roles really, really well. Everyone has been directed really well. Like this is very much one of these dubs where it's like, oh, these people record these all individually, and it doesn't sound like that at all. It sounds like this was all recorded like as a big group all at once. It is delightful. I could probably highlight certain lines, but I'd rather wait for them to when we get to their specific characters. Also, I'm going to introduce you to the tedious gimmick I've introduced in this episode, which is that as we go through each group of characters, I will tell you which actor from Cannonball Run would play them in the ill-conceived 70s version of this show.
Yes.
God bless.
Oh, boy.
Some of them will make sense. Some of them will not make sense. Some of them will just be because I think that's a funny image. You'll hate some of them. You'll probably find this very boring, but I don't care. I'm amused.
I am intrigued as to who you chose for Dom DeLuise's character. That is all I will say.
Boy.
Oh, it's going to be very dumb, I assure you. Anyways.
Good old Dom DeLuise.
It's not a movie from the 70s that Dom DeLuise doesn't show up at some point, don't you know? Them's the rules. That's why he's in Blazing Saddles. Anyways, this is a really great dub, and I'll get into more later, but I don't remember who's next, but you can go.
I think it was Hardy.
It was me, yeah. Now, I just wanted to appreciate, I think this show had one of the most tight-knit and yet diverse cast of characters that I've seen in anime in a long time. And I think that the cast that was chosen for this was equally well tight-knit and diverse. I can really appreciate it that as we get into it, so many choices were from actors of different ethnicities, even some that weren't exactly playing the same ethnicity as their character, and yet it was still fit. And I just like to see, I just appreciate because most of the actors that they got are not the typical Funimation voices that you usually hear. It was very new, fresh talent. And it was a very diverse cast of both of characters and of actors, and I can really appreciate that, because if for one thing you cannot say about this dub is that it's not adventurous and it doesn't take any chances. It definitely takes a lot of chances, and that's something I really enjoy about it. I just really liked it overall. I don't know of any particular one-liners that stick out to me right off the top of my head, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Hardy. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Roots.
Oh, yeah. No, you're fine. So, in terms of script writing, it is very, very fast-paced. It's very poppy. It's very in-your-face. It is what this show absolutely needed in order to, keep it going. Like Hardy was saying, I do like the fact that, I don't think this is the kind of cast you could have before the recording from home era that we are in now.
Oh, absolutely. I think they're taking full advantage of being able to record from pretty much wherever.
And I think other than the shows that are starting to be released now, Appare-Ranman was probably the dub that most I'm searching for specific words to describe this.
Most embodifies?
Exemplifies?
Yeah. This to me feels like the dub that probably most utilized the advantages of the record from home.
Mm-hmm.
just the ability to grab actors that you probably wouldn't have ordinarily had a chance to have fly into Texas, do like 13 episodes, and then go home. Even with the sort of workaround that they had before of utilizing California studios to bring in California-based actors, I don't think you could have done this the same way. And we'll be getting into a lot of the casting here, and I think it's really neat. But performances were pretty good. Accents are usually kind of a hit or miss for me. But in here, a lot of them just kind of fit. Yeah, in general, I really liked it, and I'll probably have more to say in final thoughts because I'm just kind of drawing a blank here. Needless to say, thumbs up on both the scripts and the direction.
So there's something, it's my turn, so I guess there's something I really want to compliment Jared and Tyler for, especially, is that this is a period piece for as wacky as it is. It's obviously, like, it's got steampunk in it, like, it's got it there, like, this is obviously not a historical fiction-y show. Like, a historical realism show. This is, hey, there's a guy with a neon pink car with eyes on the front. And you know what? Bless his soul, because TJ is a riot, and he steals the show every time he's on, like, for more than 5 minutes. It's the TJ show. But when you have a show that takes place in a time period, making sure you don't slip stuff that is very much codified to today's way of speaking. Like, if someone's throwing a kid, they're not yelling yeet when they do that. Or Kobe! Like, there's none of that. There's a lot of really fun, like, terminologies, like, the fact that TJ never says tits, but he says mama's milk bags, is, like, the best. Like, it's little stuff like that. And then in the direction, you can tell characters' personalities based on the way that they maybe speak. Like, I know a lot of people, when the first episode of the dub came out, or the trailer came out, a lot of people were like, oh, Kosume sounds so stiff and uptight. Well, yeah, that's his character, and the way that he speaks, it reflects that. And the way that Caitlin and Sean directed this, there are characters with all of the major characters that are a part of the core cast are all very eccentric in their own ways. And you can tell by the way that they perform, the voice actors perform the characters in tandem with the writing, that this was clearly done by a team that believed in this show. And that's the hard thing about doing a show like Appare, I think, is that Appare is a studio original. There is no, Caitlin cannot go read the manga of Appare and go, okay, to this person, this is what's happening next. And obviously, granted, I don't know at what point of the sub this started, but obviously, if it started more towards the latter end of the broadcasting when it started back up in summer, obviously you do have those episodes. But still, like, even if you're, even then, an original series, you don't know what twists are going to be thrown out. Say they started when episode 8 was out, you don't know what's going to happen in episodes 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So I do think there is this extra level of polish for this original series, and that everybody clearly believed in it. This dub is a lot of fun. This dub helps, and this show is one of the easiest things you'll watch all year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are some shows where you watch it, and those 12 episodes feel like 20 years. And it's not to say those shows are bad, but, like, after a while, you will feel exhausted watching them. Appare is a show that I watched almost all. I think the only episode I skipped was one because I had seen it already. I watched, like, 12 episodes of this, and I swear to God, I thought it was only, like, 2 o'clock when I was done. And I was like, damn, I sat here for a couple hours, actually. What the hell? And it was great. And this dub is great. And this ensemble is a lot of fun. It's like Hardy said, this is a cast that, for all those people like, oh, dubs use the same 12 voice actors, I'd literally point at this show and be like, yeah. There's, like, I think Al and, oh god, I would say maybe Al and Dylan are the two most prominently well-known of them.
Among
Maybe
Funimation,
Sophie?
at least.
Among Funimation, and yeah. Like, obviously there are other characters who, their actors have been there for a while, but they haven't been in big-name things that, like, your average everyday person sees on Toonami or something. So, I really like the cast of this, too. So, moving on to our first set of characters, let's talk about Snow White and his big brother. The Bad Brothers. They are a pair of brothers who, initially when the race starts, because essentially this has... Okay, look, the Wild Race screening program basically has the employee background check level of a McDonald's. To which is, sure, why not? You gave us money. Or, whatever, it'll make us look good. So the Bad Brothers essentially pose as the outlaw guilty Gil, Butcher Gil, to get into the race, and eventually you find out that they're not, because the guy posing as Gil would never hurt a woman or a child. And he's adorable. He's a big boy, and he's very adorable, and that...
How did you describe him originally? He's a big himbo Disney princess?
Yes. He's a big himbo Disney princess. Because, let's be real, Tristan drinks his Respect Women juice.
He does. You're not wrong.
And small animals tend to flock to him naturally.
Yeah, there's this one scene. There's just one scene of like him and Hototo sitting outside, and he's got like squirrels on his head and cats, and he's just like, okay. It's also very funny that he goes to the big Shirobako shout out to get apple pies of all things. He goes to a Don Don Donuts. And then there's Chase, he's kind of the mouth and the brains of the operation, I would say. He's just kind of like the big ones, like, yeah, we're evil. At one point, though, they almost get a bunch of people killed, and then they turn out to be good, and you're just by the end, it's like, you know what, fine, you guys can fucking be here, too. And by the time the race ends, they just want to play Farming Simulator. So playing Chase the Bad is Chris George, and playing Tristan the Bad is Tyson Reinhardt. Chris George will know as characters such as Masato Gomon in Anime Gataris, Joseph in Dime Dollar, Prince vs. Penguin Empire, and Robbie Yargi in Robi Hachi. Tyson Reinhardt you'll know as characters such as Shinya Ozeki in Hinamaru Sumo, Itaru Daru Hashida in the Steingates franchise, and Kagari in Carnival. Hardy, why don't you go first this time?
Boy, we have... How do I describe these two? Sort of like the Laurel and Hardy of the West. You've got the... Tristan's just here
to see the animals.
Yeah. No, it's, I always like these two when they play sort of like brother characters, because they do have very similar type voices, very deep, low. Tyson's a little bit more raspy than Chris's, but they always complement each other very well. And so when they play off each other, I really appreciate it. Because Chase is sort of this big mouth, burly, sort of kind of almost a bully, but deep down he's actually kind of a chill guy. Whereas Tristan, he is just a big old softy. Like, he doesn't want to hurt anyone, but if you mess with Hototo, he will jack you up.
Yeah, he slammed that one dude into through 3 fences and into a cliff.
But anyways, yeah, I like listening to these two play off each other, and when Tristan calls his big brother Bubba, he hates. He's like, "Stop calling me that." Yeah, no, these two are delightful. That's all I gotta say.
All right, Roots, go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, let me... I just need... I have the list. I just need to grab it real quick to get the names. Yep. Chase Bad. I love the fact that, you know, he starts out... Like, the entire first half of the show, they are perceived to be the bad guys. And they kind of do some really heinous shit, too. Namely with the just being absolutely willing to ram through the other racers after blowing a canyon with dynamite. Like, they were absolutely willing to kill people at that point. But then by the end of the show, you're just like, these are just some good boys.
They can have a little murder as a treat.
As a
I
treat.
see them bad brothers are up to it again. It's just the bad old boys. Never meaning no harm.
Let's be real, they do harm.
Beats all you ever saw, been in trouble with the law since the day they was born.
Making the way, the only way they know how.
They know how.
But that's just a little bit more than the law will allow. Okay. I had to go there, but, you know. One thing I love in particular about Chase and Chris George's performance is Chase is basically seen as the voice of reason here, but at the same time he's just like, oh fuck yeah, let's ram him. Like these are just and I also love that Tristan, played by Tyson, is such a softie. But I just... Like, I love that they both kind of have this personified id. And they're both just so... They're both good boys, but they're so impulsive, and it's great. And the ending fights that they get are just, like, chef kiss. Because yeah, as Hardy was saying, like, Tristan rams a fucker through, like... Oh no, Megan said it. Tristan rams a fucker through, like, 3 or 4 building walls, and then full-on Tex Avery's the guy into a cliff. Like, there was pretty much an outline of him when he popped back out. He was great.
I don't know. Was it Sean or Kellen that he did that to?
Oh man, I don't.
We're not talking about the Snake Gang, but they're like, I think the prominent members are Sean Gann, Zena Robinson, Morgan Le Ray, and Kellen Goff.
I want to say it was Kellen.
Please let Kellen play good boys.
Because I think Sean Gann's was, No, it actually might... Anyway.
Sorry.
He Tex Avery's the guy into the cliff, and there's, like, an outline of him when he peels himself off. It was just great. And then, in Chase's fight against, I'm bad with names, guys. You know this.
He gets into the fight
with Gil.
Yes.
But he totally gets shot. But he's okay, because he uses, like, bits of the car as body armor underneath his clothes, and it's... Like, he thinks ahead. Let's be real. He may be impulsive, but he comes prepared. But yeah, I really love these two. They're just these great little... like, Chase is basically, like the hell yeah gung-ho guy. And then Tristan's just as gentle. Animals love him. And, you know, if animals love a character, they're not bad guys. It's like the rule of anime. Like, they're always played as a villain, but then they, like, feed a bird, and then you're like, oh, he can't be bad.
Unless you're Cars. You could save a dog and still be awful.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
But then again, JoJo's breaks all the rules.
True, very true.
I was gonna say, speaking of JoJo, for the love of God, the show is not a JoJo's reference! For the love of God! I know, everyone sees anime racing in the desert, and they're like, JoJo's!
That being said...
Is that a thing in JoJo's?
Yes,
Steel
it's
Ball
called
Run.
Part 6.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
There's a Raptor Jesus, too.
Yeah, Dio's
that part I knew about, because that's way more interesting than a red... I've seen races in the desert, guys. Watch a fucking movie. Watch something that's not anime for once in your goddamn lives.
Okay, I really liked how Tristan is so soft-spoken. I'm done.
I just love how Amon's like, yeah, no, fuck the raptor part. For the love of... He's like, that's the normal part of JoJo's. It's the race in the desert where he draws the line in the sand. Raptor Jesus, A-okay. Men riding horses through desert, get the fuck out of here.
Oh, so they're not even on cars? What? Ugh, whatever. Fine.
Sorry, Grandpa. Would you like to go now?
Yes. So to continue with my stupid gimmick. The Bad Brothers. I was briefly considering putting Burt Reynolds and Dom DeLuise there, mostly for the joke of Dom DeLuise plays Tristan and is always shot so he towers over Burt Reynolds even though he's Dom DeLuise. But then I remembered, there's some good old boys in Cannonball Run. So I say Chase is played by them, which is Mel Tillis and Terry Bradshaw.
I knew it!
Yes.
Wait, what?
Yes, football player and sports commentator Terry Bradshaw. He's Tristan. Because yes. Look, this isn't even the weirdest casting part of this movie. Hardy knows what's coming up.
Oh, yes.
He knows what's coming. You can probably guess who I'm going to cast him as.
in there.
Sorry, what?
Who the fuck thought it was a good idea to put Terry Bradshaw in there?
Probably whoever gave O.J. Simpson an acting career.
Yes. If you have not seen Cannonball Run, you really need to see Cannonball Run. Just the first one.
Why didn't anybody tell me Terry Bradshaw was in Cannonball Run? Now I'm gonna go see this. I have to know.
Cannonball Run, folks. It's a great movie.
Isn't he the one who drove his truck into the hotel swimming pool?
I believe so, yes.
That would be something that Chase and Tristan would do.
Absolutely.
Tyson and Chris, I know Tyson would get a kick out of this conversation, so Tyson and Chris, if you're listening.
But on to the actors who are actually in this show. These two are a goddamn delight. I love when Chris George shows up in things. I think he's got a great voice. It's really unique sounding. I always like it when he gets to play more prominent characters. And I like how he's able to sell Chase as a very credible bad guy up until the reveal, and then after that just slide on over into yeah, Chase is a pretty good guy actually. Like, he's not so bad once you get to know him. And Tyson plays Tristan is just such an absolute sweetheart. He is so. It's like, how could I hurt a crying child? I can't. I want to go over. I shall give up the charade because the child is crying, and I can't stand by that. He's so nice. And they just play off each other really well. It's like, hey, bro, why did you have me go over to get pies in the mask? Was there a line? Hey, you're pretty smart, bro.
Yeah, I love that. I just love that part where, like, just the animation on the entire line moving out of the way for him is so good.
It's a beautiful scene. I also like Chris's little rant later about how, it's the code of the outlaw to never turn down free food, where he's talking to Appare outside the hotel, and in the middle of it he just realizes Appare just put the pies down and left, because he's Appare, that's what he does. He's just like,
yeah. Damn it.
I know. They're just a lot of fun. Like, I really enjoyed listening to them. They were a hoot. Look, this is a good ensemble cast. Like, everyone is really well cast, and I think this is a fine example of that just right here.
I'm still not over the fucking Terry Bradshaw thing.
Look, like I said, we're gonna come to one later that's gonna blow your mind.
Now I'm just imagining Terry Bradshaw doing an anime. Could you imagine, like, Terry Bradshaw as All Might? Does Howie Long get to be Aizawa? Thank you to all 5 people on here who know what the NFL on Fox is, because you clearly came to an anime podcast for discussion on sports.
I am here.
So one of our fans like, man, I'm all footballed out today. I'm gonna put on my favorite anime podcast to get away from all the football.
Terry Bradshaw.
30 minutes later, God damn it!
Damn.
At 2, Dub Talk, at 2.
We all know that Gil would be played by Tom Brady.
Oh, it's true.
It's true. Alright, it's my turn. So one of the things I really like about Chris and Tyson as Chase and Tristan is, like what Hardy said, these two guys sound a lot alike. You would believe they were actually brothers. Like, I actually got it confused on which one was which. I actually thought Chris was Tristan and Tyson was Chase, because for me, I slipped them around. Like, okay, Tyson would play kind of the more dickish one, but nope, Tyson's a big sweetheart, and I've never really heard Tyson get to play, like, the big sweet boy in things. I've heard Chris do it, because Chris is everyone's favorite cheerleading meatloaf Ton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tyson kind of played a sweet boy in Hinomaru Sumo.
Yeah, he was
I have
sort
not
of the
watched
same
that
kind of
yet.
character Tone was.
But no, I love that Tyson is, like, he's got the kind of, like, dumber voice, but he's not, like, it's the stereotypical, like, big dumb dude voice. It's just, he's very soft and like, oh yeah, my brother's the smart one. But, like, it's very clear that Tristan's got the emotional intelligence of the pair.
Mm-hmm.
Because I love the scene where Kosume's in the hospital and Hotato is watching over him, and he talks about how Hotato needs to take care of himself and get some sleep, and, like, how he's still gonna be there when Kosume wakes up. And then I kind of like that they've become Hotato's brothers from another mother, in a sense, because they both give him really good advice about, like, protecting people. And God, I love the scene where Chase fakes his death to the snake, and it's, like, the worst overacting that you could have ever imagined. Like, that was the snake that eats its own tail.
And yet it kind of worked.
Yeah, no, it totally worked. I also, shout out to when we actually get to talk about Seth. I swear to God, don't actually give Seth an actual dignified profile. It needs to be the picture of him in the barrel with the helmet. Cause that cracked me up. We're like, I can't believe they snuck into town in the barrels. How did Chase fit in there? What the fuck? No, but I loved Chris as Chase too, and this is what I kind of meant, where, like, Chris and Tyson have been around the block for a long time. And they're in a lot of things, but they're not usually the most prominent characters. Obviously, they've had stuff in the last couple of years where they've risen to prominence, where they've played, like, a big lead in something. Like, Chris is, obviously, Ruby Hachi, and Tyson was a big part of Hanako. But, like, they're not people that, like, everybody really thinks of when you think of, like, big-name anime voice actors, and that's a shame, because they're both really good at their job. And they're also very good at their other things they do in anime. I don't think any of us ever have a problem with a lot of things that Chris George directs or Tyson works on, but that's another story for another day. Overall, I love these guys. They are so much fun, and there is no unfun character in this show to me. And the one character who is the biggest stick in the mud gets to be the eternal butt monkey by the end of it. Mm-hmm. And that's all we really want in life. Speaking about wanting things in life, murder, women, and a good time. So let's talk about it, the 1003, a group of outlaws who somehow managed to get their way into this race. Two, because money and power, and they both want the same woman, and then there's the actual villain of this show. They are Dylan G. Olden, who is the kind of dandy outlaw, whose entire personality can be summed up as the guy who's trying to be a lone wolf and failing. He's all... I lovingly call him your drunk uncle.
He's always hitting the flask.
Because, yeah, he's the guy in the Western who's drinking away his sorrows because his woman, like, the woman he loved was killed. There's Crazy TJ, who is the best character in the show, honestly. Like, let's be real. TJ is the best. He shows up and has a good time. He has some of the best dialogue and those beautiful eyes.
So absolutely dangerous, he has to keep them under, like...
metal goggles.
He's so dreamy.
It's my headcanon that he is the ancestor of one Barrett.
I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it?
That's why Barrett's eyes are so beautiful, Hardy. And then there is Richard Reisman, or should we call him Guilty Cigar? Oh my god, his name is literally Guilty.
Yep.
Yep!
That's like Donald Glover realizing his name can be shortened to Dong Lover. Have you guys never seen that?
No.
No.
It's an interview he's doing with Jimmy Kimmel, where he's like, man, you can shorten my name to Dong Lover.
Oh.
Don, and then G, because his last name, like, Don Glover, Dong Lover, it's, yeah.
Oh.
His name is literally Guilty Cigar. Thank you, PA Works. He is... Go ahead, Hardy.
I want to know about the penis schmeisier. What does it do?
Gil's thing is that violence is the only thing in the world, and he's gonna do whatever he wants and kill whatever he wants and takes to whatever he wants. He is basically like the edgelord in the Old West the Old West D&D session. Like, he's even got the chuny, like, tattooed black and red eye.
Mm-hmm.
He is literally like an over the top caricature.
He's
And he's
Lad Russo
great.
in the Wild West.
Like, that's the one thing I appreciate is we don't get a lot of anime that are, like, based around westerns.
Nope.
And, like, every western has that over-the-top villain.
Oh, it's delightful. I mean, not delightful, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. He kind of kills a couple people.
He's a real piece of work.
Yeah, I think he throws Chris Sabat out of a train at one point.
He does. just hurls him right out of it.
He just picks him up and throws him.
Yep.
Just like, I love when the first time I saw him, and I was just like, there's no way with that character design that you're not the fucking bad guy.
Oh, I looked at him and it's like, oh, you're incredibly suspicious. No one's that nice. Not
Nobody
in
looks
America.
like that. Oh, Lord. Playing Dylan is Robert McCollum. Playing TJ is Ace Anderson. And playing Gil is Brendan Potter. Robert McCollum, you'll know his characters such as Fumihito Nanahara in Blood Sea, Shirasu Kinjo in Laughing Under the Clouds, and Tessai in Samurai 7. Ace Anderson, welcome to anime! Woo! Yay! Brandon Potter, you'll know his characters such as Sven Volfield in Black Cat, Nicholas Brown in Gangsta, and Yukinori Shinohara in Tokyo Ghoul. Roots, you're gonna start off this time.
Alright, I think I'm gonna start with Brandon Potter and Gil. Because you know what? This is not the first time Brandon Potter gets to play a villain that hoists another villain by their own petard. Because here you have him yeeting Chris Sabat out of a train. And the last time, you might have remembered him kind of putting a little too much bolognese in a lasagna.
Oh, yes.
I still haven't watched that, and none of you will ever let me look at the lasagna clip out of context.
He was
No.
Fango.
I know, and I still haven't watched. Okay, I started 91 Days with my mom one Christmas where she was a little too intoxicated, and I've just never have touched it since.
No, you need to see
Yes,
that clip in context.
Yes, my mom thought 91 Days was an appropriate. My mom thought 91 Days was an appropriate Christmas anime.
Yeah. It's basically Baccano if it was
mean-
played entirely straight. Yeah.
But yeah, having made that point, Brandon Potter's just deliciously hammy here. Like, every bit of scenery he is around, he just chews into a wonderful pulp. And yeah, as Megan mentioned, he gets to be like this chuny edgelord as well. Just how violence rules the world, killing people is fun, and all that. Like, it's great. I absolutely adore this performance. Especially at the very end of the show when he's finally beaten and he's just like... He's still spouting all the... Okay, my favorite scene is, like, at the very end when he has his comeuppance and he's tied up and he's still spouting all of his shit. And he's stuffed into, I want to say it's TJ's car? Or...
Yeah, he's in
so.
TJ's trunk.
Yeah, they stuff him into TJ's trunk and he's still spouting all this nonsense, so they shut the trunk and he's still going.
Yeah, I laughed my ass off at that scene.
Because, I mean, his whole plan was he wanted to send a train into the Chicago rail station just to blow it all to smithereens and cause a bunch of chaos. Like, that was his whole plan.
For the lulz.
Yeah, pretty much for the lulz. I don't think there was gonna be any revolution that followed, but, you know, who knows? Now, Dylan, I liked Robert McCollum when he played Dylan a bit more sullen. Obviously, he's playing... For most of the show, he plays Dylan with a bunch of false bravado. He is very much puffing his chest. And obviously, he's got some of the bigger sponsors of the race backing him, and he was considered the favorite to win. But all of this is just fluff, because deep down, he is very much a hurting man. He lost the love of his life. Not only did he lose her, she was taken away from him pretty cruelly. And he basically drinks to drown out all that sorrow. I think the standout scene for him is toward the end as they're preparing for the big final climatic battle, where him and TJ actually talk about it. And, like, it gets raw, and I really enjoyed it. And let's be real, Ace Anderson just steals a show whenever he's on. TJ is such a boisterous character. And Ace absolutely has, like, that big swagger energy to him. And let's be real, like, I had an absolute riot with the, your mama's milk bags line. So yeah, these three were great. Absolute thumbs up. And yeah, Ace is definitely a standout performance of this group, and I hope to hear more from him from, in general, anime dubs. I'm not sure which of the dubbing regions he's from, but I hope to see him in more things.
Where do I start? I guess I'll start with. I guess I'll start in the same order as Roots did and start with Gil. Gil is, as I like to call him, he subscribes to the Lad Russo philosophy of life. Evil is fun. Killing is fun. You don't need a reason. Just do it. And every moment he's on screen after his big reveal is just... I don't know whether we would... where he lands between being deliciously evil or just being edgy Mitch edge face. I mean, he kind of walks a fine line. You have to... that villain can be pulled off well, but it has to be done right. And I think in Gil's case, he does it right, and Brandon really chews the scene every time he's on screen. And yeah, if you enjoyed this performance, then definitely check him out as Fongo in 91 Days, because it's very similar. Because Gil is basically the Wild West equivalent of the 1930s gangster type. As far as Robert as Dylan goes, I really enjoyed his sort of like Texan swagger. He's an outlaw, but he's more like he's an outlaw, but he's on the right side of things. Like, yeah, he'll commit a crime, but he's largely left that past behind him now, and right now he just wants closure, and he wants to just handle things alone, but he knows that he can't really do it alone. So you kind of have to appreciate his inner strife that he goes through. Let's talk about TJ. I am fully convinced that TJ is a time traveler from the 1970s.
He's got that vibe.
Like, in the back of his little pimp truck, he's got a flux capacitor. Because he's got a portable record player that he plays in his car. Where he got it, I don't know. Because Appare sure didn't make it for him. But I mean, he's out of all the characters, he's the most one to stand out. And Ace just plays him with such a flamboyance and such just this energy. And he's just a delight to behold. And I have to agree, he is probably my favorite character on the show. And I wish we'd seen more of him, but that's all I have to say.
All right. Amon, I don't believe you went.
No.
All right, here we go.
Onto my stupid gimmick. I was unsure who should play Dylan and TJ until I refreshed myself on the cast list at Cannonball Run, and then I thought, of course, Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr. Who else? Is it young in their prime? Is it young in their prime, Dean Martin or Sammy Davis Jr., or aged and old at the time the movie was made, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr.? You decide.
The more
Choose
you
your own
mention
adventure.
the cast of Cannonball Run, the more this movie sounds like it's up my alley.
Look, Cannonball Run, especially in retrospect, you look at it and it's like, this cast is absurd. How is this an actual movie? And for Gil, I wasn't sure, because there's an antagonist in Cannonball Run, but he's kind of a stuck-up guy, isn't really still like a Gil type, so I thought, who do I want to play Gil in this theoretical movie? And there's only one choice. I want Burt Reynolds to play him. Because Burt Reynolds would kick ass in this role. Given the late Mercure revival he never had, fictional movie.
Suck it, Trebek. Oh wait, that's Sean Connery.
Where did you get that hat? I found it.
See, that's something Gil would do. Makes sense.
I mean, he does kind of actually do that at one point in the show, so...
Anyways, onto the actual actors. Where to start? I agree. Like, I Robert's really good as Dylan. I think he really can. He's good. I feel like a lot of Dylan's story could come off as very, like, kind of maudlin and out of place, and I think it's credit to the show that a lot of his sorrow and pathos feels very earned. I even like the fact that, like, when he's talking about, like, I'm forgetting what his beau's name is. It's like, if only she wasn't with me, she wouldn't be dead. And TJ is like, damn right! Like, this is absolutely your fault. Fuck you. Just, and he's hurting too, but it's kind of like, yeah, no, this is entirely your bullshit. This is your fault. Own it. Which I feel like shows usually try and like let characters kind of get around some of their past actions. It was kind of interesting to see, but like, yeah, no, Dylan fucked up, and it still hurts. And I think Robert just plays him really well. I think he walks that line of making him seem. He's like the halfway point between like a Clint Eastwood character and that one guy in the 310 to Yuma remake who like just kind of like badass but dandyish. Brandon Potter is really good as Gil. What a ham. So much scenery shown. So many speeches. He's just really good at just playing him as just this over-the-top, like, edgelord jackass. He is so wonderful. Like, once kind of the dime turns and Gil just, like, amps it up, it was just like, this is so delightful. I could listen to him rant all day. What wonderful dialogue. What a wonderful performance. But I, too, want to give a shout-out to Ace Anderson. Welcome to Anime Dubbing. He just sounds great, frankly. Like, he's got a nice voice. He's got a read the phone book voice, and I think he applies that very well to TJ, who could almost maybe seem like too much, but I think Ace does a good job of playing him just right. I'm always going up just the line of being, like, maybe a little too ridiculous, but never quite crossing it. And also doing a good job, I think, when he gets to some of his more sort of, dramatic moments of making it still feel true to the character, but also being able to ground it in like his own like frustrations and sorrow. Good performances. Like again, shout out to the staff. Like this is a really well cast show. I'm gonna say that a lot this episode, just a FYI.
Why would you say something? Why would you not? It's true.
Look, I had not watched this when we did the voting for the Dubbies, and I was not able to put it down on my Best Ensemble cast, and now that I have, I'm like, I should have put it there. This is great. Oh, good days. Anyways, I'm done.
Hardy, I believe it's... Did you go?
I went.
Yeah, you went before me.
Oh, fuck, my brain is jacked up right now.
It's alright.
I've had a long week, guys.
No worries.
Yeah, I hear that.
I've had a week. Megan has had like a very rough last month and a half. You've probably read my Twitter and seen what's happened to me. I'll start off with Dylan for this. Robert McCollum is like, yeah, this would be Robert McCollum's character. I like when he plays Dylan as like, why the fuck are you guys around me? Leave me alone. I'm trying to be brooding. And everyone's like, dude. Everyone's like, dude, just get over it. And just like, I like how he's just kind of like, I love the scene where Hotato goes, who's Claudia? And he's like, you heard that? Like, I'm sorry, I love him and TJ's relationship. It's so fun. Like, I love Robert in this because I think this is like, Robert is very much the deadpan straight man in all of this. Like, even more than Kosame is, I think it's Dylan. And I love when the show, like, gets its drama moments, and it worked so well. Like, there's a lot about the show that is very goofy and fun, but there's a real heart to it, and there are two scenes with Dylan that really get me. And that is when Gil kicks his ass, and then when they're up on the roof, where him and TJ are up on the roof, and he goes, man, if you would have stayed up like a little bit longer, you would have seen Gil kick my ass too. But man, also those humor moments, like there's a part where when they storm the town and he shoots the guy and the guy's gonna drop a bottle of like whiskey, he just grabs and goes, now you shouldn't waste any hooch, and he just puts it back up. And it's so smooth and badass, but like I also giggled a little bit because it was funny. And then the scene where he's getting his haircut.
Yeah.
And the barber is talking his ear off. And if you're an introvert, that is the scene where you started to die a little inside. Because this guy is, like, going off, and he's just like, and then Appare walks in, and he just pulls the newspaper up, and you can kind of hear, like, in his voice, like, get me the fuck out of here, I don't like this, bye! And then Ace's TJ is so much fun. And I got to put together, I'm the one who put together a lot of the Dubby nomination video clips. And let me tell you, finding a TJ clip was, like, the most fun I had outside of getting clips for Run with the Wind, actually. And that scene that I picked where he's in, I think they're in Denver. And he's like, oh man, they are lowballing me on his wanted tag. And he's like, man, I just love the delivery of, man, I hate it here. And it leads into what might be the actual funniest moment in the show, which is where Al comes up and he's like, oh, you're not bored, you're just alone. He's like, no, dude, I am bored out of my mind. And they go to the bar. And AJ's delivery of, we're doing shots.
Yeah.
And then the whole bar scene, and just by the end of it, like, he's drunk and you hear him and he goes, she's a keeper. But also, AJ, for a guy who's never done anime, really gets it. Especially in that scene where he's like, nah man, she died because you wouldn't let her go, and that Dylan didn't deserve her because he saw her as a prize and not a person. And I love the fact that they both literally were after the same woman, but it was just so good. It's that old westerny bullshit, man. The show knows it so well, and those guys do it so well. And then there's Gil, to which I'm the person who hasn't seen 91 Days, so I have no inclinations of what the fuck the Bolognese scene is. And please don't spoil it for me in the comments or send me the clip on Twitter. I am watching 91 Days at some point early, like in after we do the W's. Like, I'm watching it, Soccer Quest and Given, like really close to each other. But just, Gil is so much fun, and just like by the end of it, you were like, Brandon gives him a tone of voice where it's like, I want to see you get your ass kicked by the end of it by the gang. Like, he's over the top, but he's not like, he's over the top and cartoonish without making it seem like a lampoon, in a sense. Where, like, Gil is evil and chuny, and you want to see him go, but you could totally believe that he fits into this universe. Like, he doesn't feel like they picked up an edgelord out of an isekai and threw him in here. Right. Even though he talks like an edgelord, he does talk like an edgelord protagonist in an isekai these days. But I loved it a lot. I also really liked when he was being the nice version of him. I think he was convincing enough in there without hiding the malice. And I think he did a great job. Alright, so let's move on from the bandits to the industry. Let's talk about Team BMW and Team GM, because, get it? BMW, GM, car brands.
Insert Titus laugh here. Ha 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 ha.
Aw, man, anybody got a hankering for some blitzball?
No.
Which would you rather, blitzball or the push-up game from the pull-up game from Final Fantasy VII R?
And the answer to that is nope.
Shout out to our good friend Josh, who somehow did that.
And don't even get me started on the lightning dodge.
Ooh.
What?
Don't even get me started on the lightning dodge minigame of Final Fantasy X.
Oh, I beat the lightning dodge. It was the butterfly catching that drove me insane.
That one too.
Anyway, on Team BMW, we have its young heir, Al Lion, who is Frenchy McFrenchboy. Eiffel Tower car baguette. who, according to what TJ said, is you ain't ever drank anything besides your mama's milk before, because he passes out after. He literally goes 1 tequila floor. At least TJ got to 1 tequila, 2 tequila, 3 tequila.
Yeah.
And then there is Sophia, who is Al's chaperone and the actual true drinking queen of the game. Sophia is the best. She's adorable. She also gets kidnapped at one point. She is the damsel in distress of the show. And then, because I didn't know where else to put him, Seth Richcutter. He's the bitch. He is this, like, very weaselly former engineer who wants to be at the top because, like, his dreams got crushed. And he keeps calling Appare, Kosame, Hototo monkeys. But eventually he ends up kind of, like, on the team and saves the race. And let's be real, if his picture in editing isn't the picture of him in the barrel with the helmet on, I quit. Like, he's in, like, a neon green safety helmet. That man could not get into Weenie Hut Juniors. Am I wrong? No. Anyway, playing Al Lion is Brandon McGinnis, playing Sophia Taylor is Xanthi Wynn, and playing Seth Richcutter is Blake McNamara. Brandon McGinnis, you'll know his characters such as Ken Sudo in Classroom of the Elite, Alan Lerner in Joker Game, and Yuta Asuka in Stars Align. Xanthi Wynn is interesting because this is, I think, the first time Xanthi Wynn was actually in a Funimation show that was dubbed at Funimation. Because Xanthi does a lot of work for LA-based dubs, including characters such as Nazuna Hiwatasha in Brand New Animal, Mayumi Hitomi in The Dragon Pilot, and Haru Okumura in Persona 5 the Animation, and all of the Persona 5-based games. Blake McNamara, you'll know his characters such as Tomoya Mashiro in Ensemble Stars, Doug Swallow in Ace Attorney Season 2, and Kotetsu Samoji in Token Ranbu Hanamaru. I guess I'll go first for this one.
Okay.
And I'll start with, I usually go last in all my recordings, but I figured let's just cycle it around. Blake as Seth is the one person I think I was, like, a little bit, took me, like, the longest to get into, actually. But he grew on me as it went along. He plays Seth as the very uptight, like, oh god, businessman who's just like, I want this to be GM's great flourish into this future. He really didn't think about vetting anybody before they started this race. Like, he letting Gil, because he's like, oh, it would bring good business. And it's just like, dude, what the hell?
Yeah, I want to talk about that at some point, but go ahead.
Yeah, Gil, like, Seth is not the brightest bulb in the factory. Like, he's smart, but, like, common sense is a little missing. And I think Blake does a good job at it, especially by the end of the series. Like, you totally believe in him. He's very much got, like, kind of the stuffy rich guy voice. He's just very stuck up, and eventually that kind of melts down. And I'm kind of happy to see Blake McNamara in something kind of more, I think, accessible to people. Because as much as I'm somebody who loves Ensemble Stars and Token Ranbu Hanamaru, those are anime made for people who are exclusively into fucking anime like that. And obviously, I've dragged other people into watching them by word of mouth like a psychopath. Right, guys?
No comment.
But I'm like, it's like Five Nights at Freddy's, but behind every door it's Megan shoving another Mobbage adaptation at you. Like, I come out, like, you look in the mirror and you say Megan 3 times, and I come out from under your bed with a copy of, like, Love Live. Like, it's like, What's-Her-Nuts coming out from under the bed in Shiki. But instead of a vampire, it's literally, like, an obscure idol-like game phone adaptation that got an anime with a dub, and I just leave it for you and crawl back under the bed like the horror I am. And you thought the Nico on drugs running down to Miami was a horrifying image?
Here, this is Fake Grand Order. Enjoy.
Joy.
Womp, womp,
No.
womp, womp.
No. No, that's what happens if you say AJ's name from Cartoon Cypher in the mirror 3 times. He just pops out and gives you a copy of Fate Grand Order and goes back up to the thing. I love you, AJ. And then, Brandon and Xanthi are so interesting as Al and Sophie to me, because here's a big thing. They both do French accents the entire time. And they're both fantastic. Brandon, I was like, okay, I can believe this because he did do that one episode with Tatum and Morgan Le Ray in Joker Game and with Dallas, and they all did really good French accents. And frankly, if you're gonna watch Joker Game, just do it for a lot of the dub of that show. The show itself, it's pretty good until the end. I think Brandon was very convincing as this young kind of like, he's very much trying to prove himself, kind of like shonen protagonist. He's a little bit more of like the shonen protagonist, or like the more protagonist that I think we're used to following, where it's like he's the heir of the company and his dad doesn't think he's ready, but he's gonna do this big dumb event and prove to daddy that he's ready, and he's got his little female companion who's there to cheer him on. But like he's going through all these troubles and hardships and she gets kidnapped, but he's not the main character, he's just a very prominent part of it. And I think Brendan does a really good job of this. I think he plays him pretty youthfully. I would believe that this is a young kid in this race, and frankly, who gave him a license. And then Xanthi as Sophia. I don't think I've ever heard Xanthi speak like this before. If you told me that this was Xanthi Wynn, I wouldn't have believed you. I'm not used to hearing Xanthi with an accent. This probably sounds a little bit like a younger version of Haru from Persona 5. Really fucking enjoyed it, though. I think it's fantastic. I think she's such a solid cornerstone of this dub. Definitely worth, if you're a huge fan of her, to check this out just for her. And then I'm gonna toss it to Hardy.
Yes. Okay, one thing that's very hard to do is hold a convincing accent. Certain actors are better at it than others. Brandon, I think, is able to pull it off because he actually, as far as I remember, he actually can speak French fluently.
Yes, he was an interpreter, if I recall correctly.
Thought he was an interpreter in Japan.
Right. Because I also think he speaks Japanese as well.
Yeah, he is like very multilingual.
Right. And so I think he's able to pull it off, and I think that helps. Make it sound as convincing as it does. Xanthi, I don't know her background with French, because Xanthi's obviously she's Asian, and so it's an interesting choice as far as the casting is concerned. I think it sounds cute, and I think it sounds very sort of je ne sais quoi, if that is the right. My French is horrible. I'm sorry, but
it's better than mine because, like I said, my French is Eiffel Tower baguette.
Yeah. But no, I enjoy it just fine. And I especially enjoy when she interacts with Jing later on, especially in the hot spring. That was a lot of fun right there, and her playing off of AJ and drinking him under, or TJ and drinking him under the table was really hilarious. Yeah, it was really good overall. And then Blake Mcnamara as Seth Rich Cutter, he just has this sort of uppityness to him. Like, he's that guy in Ghostbusters who, no matter how bad things get, is constantly trying to blame everything on them. Up until...
Is he the
mayor?
mayor?
He's not the mayor. He's the district attorney guy.
The EPA guy.
Yeah.
Walter Peck.
Right. This man has no dick.
Yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
He kind of gave me that kind of vibe, like this snotty, uppity businessman, but not nearly as bad, because he does make a face turn at the end when everything is sort of going south. But just watching him go from this pompous, arrogant business type to the show's butt monkey, as you will, was really, really rather funny and refreshing. So I think he did a fairly good job.
All right, Amon, go ahead. I need to hear the casting for a second.
So, So this was a little bit tricky. I like what I picked. This is a little bit more of a grab bag, but for Al Leon, he's fancy. He's an aristocrat of sorts. And you know who's in Cannonball Run? Roger Moore, originally supposed to be playing a deranged aristocrat who thinks he's James Bond, but when they could not secure the rights to use that name, they had him play a deranged aristocrat who thinks he is James Bond actor Roger Moore, which I find very funny.
Wait, so they got him to play himself but crazy?
But no, they got him to play an aristocrat who thinks he's Roger Moore.
Oh my god.
This movie's great. Would you believe the guy who wrote this movie was a professional, race car writer, like a journalist? That's what he did in his day job. It's great. He also invented the race that Cannonball Run's based on, because that is based on a real thing people did. Anyhow. For Sophia Taylor, there aren't too many prominent women in this movie, because the 70s, but you know who isn't? Farrah Fawcett, and that amuses me, so Farrah Fawcett. Look, it's her or the two stacked blondes who are another set of racers. Adria Barbeau would probably be fine, but let's go with Farrah Fawcett. We like her. And for Seth Richcutter, because he is the closest to obvious comic relief here, this is where Dom DeLuise goes. If only for the scene where he sneaks around in a barrel with a giant green hat on. Anyways, back to actual actors. Let me see. I generally don't have a lot of particular critiques to go with accent work. I cannot distinguish an actual accent from a bad imitation of one unless I have to. But as far as I can tell, Brandon and Xanthi, I think, do a very good job of sounding credible. I was not distracted. They didn't sound too over the top. And I thought they did really good. I thought they turned in a nice performance. I thought Brandon just did a good job of making Al seem very much like, how do I put this? Yes, I am from France. I'm not
drink your blood.
Accent. I'm not going
to. Blah blah blah.
The camera go. I'll eat you later.
Brandon does a job of playing just he gives him the right little of little Lord Fauntleroy-ness to the character that I think is appropriate. He plays him very well. He makes him kind of ridiculous while still feeling like an actual person. When he's very when Sophia's been kidnapped and he's very upset about it, it doesn't come off as cartoonish. It's like, oh yeah, no, this is bad. And I think Xanthi just plays Sophia really well. She just hits that fine line of being she's very regal and refined, and she can also drink you under the table, and she knows that, and she's okay with showing that off if she has to. I think my favorite part is actually when they show up, when they show up for Jing's race, and I initially thought their suitcase was going to have a giant pile of money they were going to bet on it, but no, it's a tea set.
Yeah, I thought that too. I was like, oh, well, this didn't go where I thought it was.
Yeah, it's oh. Oh, I see. It's just they're great. And I also like Lake as Seth just because I thought he did a really good job of making him seem both really uptight, but you can see the underlying bitterness of I had hopes and dreams once. I liked having hopes and dreams, but not in this industry, I guess. And I also like that he got his moment towards the end where he's like, being a manager sucks. Let's build some fucking cars, guys. Let's do it. My passion has been reignited through strength and perseverance. Yeah. Have anything else I wanted to add? No, just Blake's good. I think Brandon and Xanthi just play off each other really well. You can really get a sense of their characters' camaraderie just from the way they talk to each other. It's really cute. It's look at them, they're nice. I know they're not a couple, but it's kind of hey, I hope these two kids succeed at whatever it is they're setting out to do. You're good. I'm done.
Okay.
All right, and Patrick, round up this group.
Sure. Let's see here. Who do I want to start with? I guess I'll just do Al and Sophia together. Amon, I probably couldn't tell a proper French accent from "Oh, baguette," kind of deal. So it was fine. That being said, I really did sort of get an aristocratic feel out of Brandon's performance, particularly. Xanthi's actually felt a little more down to earth, which is sort of it fits with her character's background, where she's sort of she's the son, she's the daughter of workers for Al's family, and she's just basically a chaperone for him. Like, she has a little bit more of a middle class background, is what I'm trying to get at here. Yeah, so the accents themselves felt very appropriate for the sort of Al's more noble upbringing and Sophia's sort of more humble origins. But they're also great. They're absolutely adorable while they're on screen. And then Brandon actually gets some really cool moments out of Al later on after Sophia gets kidnapped. And it's just really good. I really enjoyed them both. I hope to hear Xanthi and more Funimation stuff down the road. Like, in particular, like, her getting cast in this is what really kind of made me think of the dub from home era of dubs as sort of like, hey, this has the potential to be really cool. Because you can pull people from various dubbing regions in, and, like, it sounds like they're all coming down to Texas to do this thing. It's great. And now, Blake Mcnamara. God, he plays the butt monkey so well. Like, it's just... He is the butt of every joke in the show. In the latter half, and it's an absolute blast. And trying to be all cool and serious in the first half was also really great. I really don't have too much more to say beyond that for this group, but I think this trio was very solid.
All right, awesome. That's everybody. So let's move on to our next set of characters who I guess I'm going to put them because they are Team Appare's best friend and another member of Team Appare, but they're not the main original pair. They are Jing Jalin and Hotato. Jalin is a Chinese-American woman who works at the local racetrack in LA, who basically gets to deal with 1930s sexism.
And racism.
She does. And racism! Yes. Because women can't drive. People don't want to watch women drivers. And I will admit that she earns her place to drive, and, like, the one actual gripe I have with the show is she totally should have been the one who actually got to punch out the sexist dude who tried to knock her off the track. Like, she should have been the one to get that punch in, but beggars can't be choosers. She's a literal one-woman army. As she says, I'm not the band, I'm the entire show. Which is the best one-liner,
so
the best ass-kicking one-liner. And Hotato is a Native American boy who, his father was killed by Gil's snake gang, and they lost their land and all their horses. He's out for revenge, but learns that revenge isn't really something that you should be going to look for. And then eventually he also gets kidnapped at one point by the Bad Brothers, which leads to the scene of Kosame finding a prairie dog that he also calls Hotato. And when he calls his name, they both turn their heads. And, like, you're all gonna laugh and be like, oh, people don't do this. I'd like to point out that my aunt has a cat named Cody. And my younger half-brother is also named Cody. So they have Cody Cat and Cody Kid. And the cat came a long time before the child.
This might be worse than when my grandmother would sometimes call my uncle by the dog's name by accident. Keep in mind, I think she did this for a while after the dog passed, so it's not like there's a reason to make that mistake.
Maybe that's what she really thought of your uncle.
No, she loved my uncle.
Okay, good.
No.
I feel really bad because sometimes I still go, hey Maka, and she's not there anymore.
I'm so sorry about that.
I've accidentally called Bailey Ma. What's worse is sometimes we call her Bandit, and Bandit is a dog that I haven't had in 10 years.
Oh.
And we loved him too. Anyway, playing Jilan is Susie Young, and playing Hotato is Emmy Lowe. Susie Young knows characters such as Fumi Futagawa in Assault Lily Bouquet, Cha-Cha in Superheroes, and Kaban in Kimono Friends. Emmy Lowe you'll know as characters such as Ichi Tanaka in Assault Lily Bouquet, Rocco Yumiya in A Certain Scientific Railgun Tea, and Asano Izumi in Kono Ototomore, The Sounds of Life. Patch, I went first last time. Patrick, go ahead.
Okay. I think I'm gonna start with Emmy Lowe. One thing that really impressed me about her performance as Hotato, compared to other things I've heard her in, like Assault Lily Bouquet, for example, I got a very Monkey D. Luffy vibe off of Hotato's performance. Like, Emmy Lowe hit that register, and, like, it sounded a lot like, and not particularly Colin Klinkenbeard's Luffy, it felt sort of like a combination between hers and the original Japanese. I thought that was really impressive. Just the more serious side of Luffy, I should have that little disclaimer there. But I love that Emmy just plays him as sort of a, like, he starts out as a little ball of angry, and over the course of the show, mellows out. Like, I think the standout for him is actually the day off episode where they all go to the hot springs. Like, they're all relaxing and all that, and Tristan keeps yeeting him into the hot spring. Like, it was just so good.
And then TJ is just like getting yeeted into the hot spring.
Yeah.
TJ's like, me next.
But it's also great. What's also great is the fight he's involved in the big climactic scene in the ghost town. Where him and Tristan are fighting against the one guy, and before Tristan, knocks him into the walls and Tex Avery's him, like, Hotato actually gets some decent shots in, and it's great. I actually really like Emmy Lowe's performance as Hotato, just because she gets the progression of the character down really well. And Susie's Jing, I also happen to really enjoy this. This is actually my first exposure to Susie Young as a voice actress. I have not had a chance to see Kimono Friends yet, so something I definitely look forward to in later months when I actually manage to pick up a copy, if Discotek can keep it in print long enough for me to find one. Not a dig against Discotek, it's just, it is what it is. Anyway, stand out for her. You know what? I'm also gonna say that the fight in the ghost town, I'm not the marching band, I'm the whole damn show line was just absolute chef kiss. She's strong, she's very capable, and I think Susie gets that across really well. So very solid thumbs up for the both of them.
Alright, awesome. Amon?
Alright. So, finding dumb stunt casting for Hotato was difficult because Cannonball Run has neither Native American people nor children. So I decided, hey, what would be funny? And I thought, hey, 70s sports commentator Jimmy the Greek's in this movie.
What?
Let's have Hotato be played by a 60-year-old Greek man. That'd be hilarious.
What? Are you fucking kidding me?
It's a small role, but yes, he shows up.
I already know who you've picked out for Jing. I already know.
Guys, I hope you're sitting comfortably.
Let me swallow this water and brace myself.
Let me know.
I'm good.
All right. So
Roots, you good?
Once I decided
Yeah,
on
I'm
this,
good.
there was only one possible person who could possibly play Jing, and that is Jackie Chan.
What?
So, Jackie Chan didn't become big in America until Rumble in the Bronx, but that's because he'd spent 15 years trying to break in, and Cannonball Run was one of those. They even designed a set piece so he could have a fight with somebody just so he can show off.
Okay.
Shit.
Okay. Sure.
Holy
It's literally that
shit.
image of the guy throwing his hands up and going, sure.
I guess.
I guess. I'm gonna be real with you. Knowing that this is Cannonball Run and that this is a movie from the 70s, I thought this was about to take a really racist turn.
I mean, they are technically supposed to. He's technically supposed to be playing a Japanese guy, so it does get racist. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, of course it does.
I mean, it's the 70s.
Back to actual actors. I enjoyed Emmy's performance as Hototo. I think she does a good job of capturing. Yeah, Hototo, as it's shown, is very like smart and capable, and he is also 10. And I think she did a good job, especially when he is talking about why he is so angry, just making it feel very authentic in the sense of like he has gone through horrible things, but that the way he expresses that anger feels appropriate for like, you know, what, a 10, 12-year-old kid basically. Like if I felt it felt very authentic. It's also interesting that like obviously there's not a lot of Native American people in anime, and when they do show up, it's often not terribly sensitive. So it's interesting to have one where the component is basically like, you killed my dad, also you stole our land, fuck you! Yeah, Appare-Ranman says Native American rights, I guess. That's nice. I thought Emmy just did. She gave just a good, strong performance as kind of, you know, this you know, complicated, angry little kid who just wants so much that he can't get. But you know, and I also like a lot of his relationship with Kosume, both in the sense that they like bristle against each other so much initially, and then there's that development of like, yeah, no, we know what we're going through better than we think. It's just nice. Like I like that little unit stuck together. They're fun. And Susie's great as Jing. She's just a absolute powerhouse. Both partially because Jing gets some of the best fights in the show. That one with the knife lady in like the second to last episode, that's some good fighting right there. She's I don't know, she just does a good job of just showing that it's like, yeah, this character like has to deal with a lot of nonsense because she's like a woman in like the late 1800s, I guess. I'm not sure exactly when this is supposed to be set, given the obvious anachronisms. But she just does a good job of being like, yeah, no, Jing is like probably the toughest person in the room half the time. She's not someone you want to mess with. And that bit about, you know, what is it? I'm not the band, I'm the whole party. It's like, yeah, no, that's
I'm the whole show.
I'm the whole shit. That's a good line.
It is.
Just yeah. Good. Just a good time. This is what I love about this show so much. It's like, if you ask me who's the best part, it's like, I don't fucking know. Everything works so well in tandem. Highlighting a specific performance feels impossible because that would just imply everything else isn't also firing on all cylinders. Like, no, this is what a well-oiled machine.
What's the best part? Yes.
There we go. Oh, yes. Anyways, these are great. I'm very happy with them. I'm done.
My turn?
Yep.
Okay. Concerning these two, one of my favorite scenes in the show is when they're all convening and talking about how they're going to go attack Gil's gang and get Sophia back. And Seth is like, I don't think we should have to worry, I don't think we're going to be very good with a woman and a child. And then I think Jing, like, breaks a board with her leg and
She kicks a barrel.
She kicks a barrel, and then Hototo sends an arrow almost across his cheek, and they're like, what? What about a woman and a child? Like, these two both can take care of themselves, and I thought that was a really cool moment. But anyways, I'm not too... These two actresses are still very, very new. And they're not too... I haven't had too much experience with them. I think the only thing I have really know about Emmy Lowe before this was her Twitter cosplay, where she had a very nice Tifa outfit. She has good cosplays anyways. But hearing her as Hototo play this little boy character, I think she kind of has the whole little boy down. Because you have a lot of actresses, like adult females to play younger male characters. And I think she gave Hototo a lot of spunk and a lot of humanity. And he does mellow out as the show goes along, as he becomes closer to Kosame and even closer to Tristan and the rest of the racers. And I think she gives him this sort of brash personality. And I really think she did a good job. Susie Young, I think I got kind of a little bit vibes like when Christina Valenzuela plays sort of her lower range. That's the kind of vibe I got from Susie for this particular role. I think that it was very appropriate that they cast an Asian actress to play this Asian character, because it added a certain level of authenticity to it. I think that she was able to bring more of a personal performance to Jing's character. And yeah, I think that she was one of my favorite characters on the show, and the fact that they gave her own sort of little mini arc as to proving herself to be just as good as everyone else, I really like that about the show. So I think they were both good.
Awesome, thanks, Hardy. And then, am I the only one who has to go?
I think you're the one who's done.
Patrick, did you go?
Yeah, I was first.
Thank you. Megan is very tired. I want to start talking about with Jing first. One of the things you noted was that you were very happy that Caitlin got an Asian American actress. Even more so, she got Susie is Chinese American.
Nice.
Hey.
I know this because the Chinese donghua called The Legend of Hay is getting a release in the United States, and the majority English cast for that is Chinese American, including Emmy Lowe, who is also in that, along with Alex Lee, Howard Wang, KG Tang, and Caleb Yen, are all in that. That is a movie, and that is hopefully going to come out before summer movies next year, and
look forward to it.
Look forward to it, potentially. Also look forward to another donghua that's getting a dub next year that I am very excited about. That is getting a dub. And I'm hoping that the other one gets picked up in the winter, because its Japanese dub is coming to Japan in the winter. So, that being said, I absolutely love Susie in this performance. It is... Oh god, it's such a stacked year, though, for performances. And she's really good. She's one of the most solid members of this cast. From the second that she speaks, you are immediately invested in her performance. And, like, I know there's a lot of people who would roll their eyes at, like, her girl power arc. And it's like, oh, why do we need this and that? And let's be real, as much as I love anime, there are a lot of really shitty written women in anime still. So having her arc be treated as seriously as, like, Kosame and Appare's arc is, and Hototo's, and having it that at the end that she, like, when they're in the final battle and she takes on the other girl, to which, boy howdy, where she calls her a tramp, too. She calls her a cheap tramp. By the end of that, where she's like, I'm the whole show, I like that Appare as a show never had it that she needed to be saved. Like, Sophia, I do kind of wish was never made the damsel, but I understand it more. But the fact that she was considered to be as strong as the guys, if not stronger than some of them. Like, the fact of it is, when she let go of that stick, she fucking Super Saiyan powered up for a minute. It's like, I'm not in here, you're not in here with, I'm not stuck in here with you, you're stuck in here with me.
It's like, oh, this staff isn't meant to make me stronger. It's meant to hold my powers back.
Back. Pretty much. And I love the fact that even when Al and her are on the train, it is very clearly that she's the more competent fighter than Al is. And I love that Susie, she has those moments of frustration in her voice because, like, listen, if you've ever been in a field where it's like, you can't be into this because this is a man's world and men aren't going to be able to get invested in the story of a woman being a driver, they're not going to want to live their dream. God, I love that the show becomes such a call out of that bullshit at points. In a general thing of other people don't decide your fate. Like, I love that this show basically said, you know what? Fuck it. You're gonna do the race and everyone's gonna read about you and get into you. You get to make your story. And, like, this is just me being a girl anime fan, or at least an anime fan that identifies as female. I have encountered so many guys who refuse to watch certain anime because it's for women, and they can't see themselves in those characters. But meanwhile, me as a girl, I've had to see myself through so many male-written and male-gazed stories. That's why I love Jilin's character, and I'm sorry I'm probably mispronouncing this so much. I'm getting better at trying to pronounce Chinese names. I think that as a female character in anime, I love the fact that, like, she's pretty, but she's never, like, her tits aren't in your face. She's not bent over awkwardly. Even when they have the scene in the hot spring, she's very modestly put up. Like, the guys are like, the naked, like, coming out naked in front of the other genders thing isn't the two girls, it's the two dudes, and it's a cultural thing, not a haha horny thing. Like, that's what, and I love that they got somebody to put such, like, a power and a presence to this, because she doesn't sound unsure of herself unless the character has to be. But once she knows what she wants to do, Susie never lets up with, like, this kind of power and gravitas in her voice. Like, she's there. She is this character to me. Like, I watched the show, at least the first 3 episodes in the sub. I do prefer her more as Jing than I do the save for it, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I appreciate how the only real fan service you get from her is her tummy. I mean, that's it. That's it,
and even then, it's not even that big of a deal. Because half the time she's in her car. And you don't even see it. And they don't, like, have guys, like, all the male characters don't stare at her. Only the bad guys in this show, like, give her shit for being a woman. Mm-hmm. Like, TJ never thinks that she's, like, Dylan, TJ, Al, the boys, they never think that she's lesser, or neither do Kosame or Appare.
Mm-hmm. She's just another racer.
I think, yeah. Mm-hmm. And they all believe in her because she's a good racer and she deserves her chance. And I love the scene in, where all the idiot asshole guys bet that she's not even gonna get 3 laps around. And Kosame just whips out all of the money he has, puts it down, and says she's gonna get around 10 times. And she does. And the only reason she lost was because the guy pussied out and cheated. And even then, I love that they went out of the show said, it's like, no, you didn't lose because you were a bad driver. You were the better driver. You only lost because he basically pulled a dick move. And if you were a lesser driver, you would have killed yourself. But anyway, I love her arc, and I love her character, and I love her performance. And Emmy's as Hotato really impressed me. Again, I know Emmy because I've watched Kimono Friends, and she's the otter in that. And it sounds really girly and cutesy. And I watched Smile Down the Runway, where she's pretty feminine in that, and then having her do a little boy and be very convincing for the first time I've heard her play a little boy was great. I think that Emmy's another actress that I think a lot of people need to start having on their radar. We said that for Susie last year, and look at this year where Susie's kind of popping up everywhere. Emmy is another actress that I think should be on a lot of people's list. She gets Hototo's arc down so well. My only issue is that I do wish that I don't know the audition process for this. I do wish that there was a native actor that could have played this character, but I understand that that might be a little bit harder, especially in this time, to make sure that they have it set up.
Yeah.
But Emmy still does a rock star performance. She's absolutely great. I think one of my other things is that I think I love her when she gets to do snarky Hototo. And where Sophia calls him a little boy, and Kosume's like, oh, well, when Sophia does it, she just goes, well, yeah, because that's just Sophia. It's like, it's okay when she does it, because she's not a patronizing asshole to me. So, you guys have kind of already nailed a lot about, like, what's so good about the Hototo performance. I also really like when he does get to start sounding like a little kid. Also, super shout out to the fact that Kosume, by the end of the show, is, like, opening the window, holding him still, and letting him shoot. Just like, fuck it, you're a part of the team now. So, I love it, and I love when he started, like, when he cries, and he's vulnerable, and it just, I really, just, you guys said a lot of things, so I don't want to, like, overstate your points. So let's move on to our final group of characters. Our sun and our clear weather in our storm, Appare Serrano and Kosume Ishiki. Appare is the titular Appare of the show. He is an eccentric inventor who's the second son of a merchant family who's kind of, when you originally meet him, he's in jail for destroying shit. And, yeah. And then he gets out, and then they're in Japan. He kind of, I think he would remind a lot of people of Senku from Dr. Stone. It's kind of the easiest person to, like, kind of be like, hey, he's kind of like Senku. But he's also not. He goes on this journey, and he learns to become, I think, a little bit more human. And then Kosume goes from being an uptight, like, traditional man to kind of overcoming a lot of fears in his past life and letting loose and becoming a better person. And by the end of the show, I think Kosume and Appare are, like, the best Bash brothers of all time. Like, they're such good bros.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so playing Appare is Lee George, and playing Kosume is Yvonne Hasa. Lee, you'll know his characters such as Ikuya, Kirishima in Free Dive to the Future, Mordred and Radiant, and To Ayano in Smile Down the Runway. Yvonne, you'll know his characters such as Bernardo Dion in Garo the Animation, Gene Alkins in All the Ramen on the Sky, and Kosuke Kyuga in Prince of Stride Alternative. And I'd actually like to go first for this.
Okay.
So, I'll start off with Kosume and Yvonne. I think that I going into this was like, oh, dude, it's the guy with the long flowy hair from Prince of Stride, as one of the 7 people who watched that. I say that as a joke. I know people watch Prince of Stride. It's actually a pretty fun anime. So I kind of knew Yvonne's performance, and then you guys all watched Radiant.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Or you guys are all... I know Hardy and Rich are, like, the 2 really big fans of Radiant.
Mm-hmm.
So I was actually really surprised to hear him be Kosume, and, originally a lot of people heard him and they're like, why is he so stiff? And I was like, it's not that bad. Like, this character at the beginning is clearly very, like, traditional. Like, he is very much, like, ingrained in his life. He is the past. And I believe his, Kosume Seiyu actually complimented him at one point, too. Which, yeah, all you people who are like, oh, Japanese people must hate dubs, just stop. But I think as the series went on, Yvonne really impressed me. He got a lot of Kosume's heart down. Because Kosume is a much more complicated character than he is just kind of like the goofy dad that has been thrust onto this adventure. And he's just like, take it safe, where you eventually come to learn that he is deeply traumatized from his past, and he understands kind of what Hotato is going through. And I think the scenes that really got me that Hivan nailed, like, with his diction and his presence and this warmth that he gives Kosume as Kosume has started to let himself kind of go and get into this race as the series goes on, is when the first time they break down in Al and Jing tow them, and he's talking to Appare about how humans aren't machines and how they do irrational things because that's what it is. When he tells Hotato not to kill the guy because Hotato doesn't deserve blood on his hands at such a young age, got me. I started to... I didn't cry to that scene, but I got pretty emotional. And then obviously he nails when Kosume's got the shot wound and stuff. And I think that he also nails the comedic aspects of Kosume really well. Because there's a lot of time where Kosume has to be like the straight man to the butt monkey, but I think the delivery of, I guess that's American comedy as it finishes out the show, was just super good. And just, I think by the end of it, I think it was genuinely really impressive. I know a lot of people talk about a lot about this dub, but I don't see, I think, Yvonne getting as much appreciation for his performance as a lot of other people got this year. And then Appare, Lee... I said it a lot in Smile Down the Runway that from where I got to know Lee George to now, he has done a complete 180 in my mind. And Appare, I think, is even more of that than Toe was in Smile. And before I go on to that, I would just like to point out that I think the moment I realized I was going to love this show is when Appare does a speech to Kosume when Kosume finds the book that he brought with him. And that is Jules Verne's From the Earth to the Moon. And Lee has this beautiful speech that he does as Appare, where he talks about going beyond the ocean, beyond the star, and going to the moon. And, like, this is my own background, essentially. I was a film studies major in college. And let me tell you that when you are a film studies major in college, you get to learn a lot about something called A Trip to the Moon by Georges Méliès.
Yeah, that's what that movie Hugo was based on, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. And that is based on From the Earth to the Moon, the book that Appare has. It's one of the earliest films in the world, actually. At least with a story. Mm-hmm. But I also like to point out that of all things, there actually used to be a From the Earth to the Moon reference at Disney.
Really?
Yes. Specifically, the version of Space Mountain in Disneyland Paris was originally called Space Mountain From the Earth to the Moon. And it was the only Space Mountain that actually has a launch in it. Like, you would actually look like you were getting shot out of a cannon and going into space. And it had a beautiful soundtrack, and of course, it's defunct, and actually, I would highly suggest you actually watch the Defunct Land video on it, because that's how I learned about that! So if you ever want a good time, one, watch Defunct Land, because it's a fantastic YouTube channel, and two, he has a video on that. Mm-hmm. But back to Lee. Lee's performance as Appare is so, I think, well done and layered, because Appare where he starts out and Appare where he ends is such a really good character arc where he goes from being this guy who believes in machine, doesn't really have any real sense of empathy for others, but by the end of it, he's doing these irrational things, he's doing things for other people, he genuinely has a bond with the other people around him in his life, and he's happy. He's not kind of... Because when you first meet Appare, there's this real sense of, like, loneliness and isolation about him because nobody respects him. Nobody likes that he tinkers with things and causes messes and stuff, but as he does this race, he meets people that genuinely do care about him, and they think that his talents are good. And I think, to me, the thing that really got me was when Kosume, he thinks that Kosume is gonna die. And Appare kind of loses it finally, and the moment that, and a lot of people will point to the very end where he's in the rain and he's crying and he's yelling at it, that, like, that's the moment that really clicked for him. I think the moment that actually got me in that performance, and I really like the performance all the way through, is when they all get back to the camp and Al is asking him when he's going to fix the car, and Appare tells him that there's no point in it, he's just being selfish and playing with his toys. And as somebody who's had depressive breakdowns and stuff before, I've had that feeling. And I think that Lee's performance really does get that out, because it is a very distressing and real feeling that I don't think a lot of people know how to actually put through. But somehow Lee got it. And I don't know what he pulled from, but it works really well. And I would like to say that the other thing I missed totally at the beginning about Ivan is when he wakes up from being shot and he's got the transfusion and Appare is kind of still depressed. And he tells Appare that there's no way that Gil could win because look at the technology of the blood transfusion. Gil thinks that violence can take everything away, but people like Gil can never understand that technology, and people like Appare who make things to help people will always be the one to push forward and get over the violence. They may think that their things aren't really helping, but at the end of the day they are, and that compassion and that desire to build a better future, to connect with others, is actually very helpful and stuff. Also, they grapple a train with a car, and that's fucking badass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also, Caitlin, I heard you. I totally know that was Jerry Jewell as the conductor in the Chicago station. Was that him? Everybody heard that, right?
Yeah.
Everyone heard that, right? Like, I know what you're doing, Caitlin. I see you, and I respect that. Let's go with Amon next.
So.
Okay, give us the two characters.
To conclude my dumb gimmick, I'm going to cheat a little bit, because I was looking at the cast, and I'm like, I don't know who I'd put at these two. So I decided I wanted to highlight the people without whom Cannonball Run would not have happened. Cannonball Run was written by a guy named Brock Yates, who was the guy who started the actual race that it's partially based on, which is a big, long shot across the United States. He mostly wrote about, like, racing as a living. And it was directed by his buddy, stuntman, actor, all-around good guy, partial basis for Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Hal Needham. God rest his soul. I miss him. You know what? Hal Needham's a cool dude. You don't go from being like Burt Reynolds' stuntman to being the guy who's directing in movies because you got nothing. So you know what? Don't you play these two, because they're in the movie briefly. They have some cameo appearances. So I think they count.
Nice.
Also, I think if they had lived long enough, I think they would have absolutely dug this movie. They seem like the kind of guys who are like, it's about racing cars, about how cars are great.
Mm-hmm. And one of them's a boat.
Yeah. One of them definitely would have. Hal Needham absolutely. I've seen some Hal Needham's movies. He would have been super into that. It's like, it's a car, it's a boat? That's genius. Why didn't I think of that?
I mean, this movie, the car that our two main leads are racing is a damn ambulance of all things.
It's true.
Yes. I make no joke. Out of all the high-powered, super fast race cars they could have picked, they pick an ambulance.
Wait, what?
Yes.
So the race they're engaging in is very illegal. So to help cover their tracks, they're driving around in an ambulance, in the hopes that if they get pulled over, they'll be like, "Doc, we gotta get these people to the hospital. You can't pull us over," and they'll just let them go.
Yeah. And also, ambulances are actually very fast. They have to be.
It's true.
Considering how size they are.
Do you know what the German word for ambulance is?
I do not, but I think you're going to tell me.
Krankenwagen.
Krankenwagen.
Oh, I love you, German. Wonderful language. So, back to the actual actors. These two are wonderful. Ivan's just really good. I think he plays Kasumi so well. He just has to go through a lot of range. I feel like, he spends a lot of the show being, if not the comic relief, at least kind of like the guy who wishes what was going on was a little more serious and dignified, and just has to put up with the fact that it's not, and it's never going to be. Just that scene, and I think the top of episode 3, where he realizes, hey, wait, we can sell the car for money. We don't need to engage in this stupid race at all. And he almost quits his job. He runs all the way back to garage only to find that Appare has already completely dismantled the car to better understand how it works. And he just trudges back to serving coffee to people in a diner. He has just a good, strong performance. He seems really thoughtful. Like, he feels like he could be just like an annoying stick in the mud, and instead he's very much a guy who feels a lot of compassion and empathy for people, even if he doesn't always know how to like communicate that. Like I said earlier, I really liked his relationship with Hotuto. I thought he and Emily played that really, really well. Especially like his relationship with Appare, where you can see that there's, as much as Appare annoys him, there is a deep, sincere affection. If anything were to happen to Appare, he would clearly be upset about that. That's not something he wants to see actually happen. What else? Yeah, just like a lot of what Megan said. Just like a lot of it, like I also liked his speech in like the hospital when he's talking about how Gil doesn't understand how he only understands violence, and that's his failing. It's just a good performance. And Lee George is Appare. I'm gonna take this as a note. I'm gonna say this to note one of my favorite gags in the show, is because at some point during this I was wondering, are they gonna make an Edison joke at some point?
Yeah.
And they did, and not only did they, it was better than I could have expected. I don't know who they got to play Edison, but just Appare walking out after having said that line.
I kind of low-key hope it was Chris Guerrero again. And there are, like, at least a couple of people who understand what that is a joke about.
And just Appare just giving that line about, it's what, 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration or whatever it is. And walking out, and then Edison's just watching him, and his assistant comes like, "Sir, are you alright?" And he's just like, "Get me a pen."
I think it's like an actual Edison quote he said. And
they absolute straight up imply that like the most famous quote I think Edison ever said, he also stole from someone else.
Yeah,
that's delightful.
It wouldn't be I too appreciate jokes that Edison sucks. Go Tesla.
That was.
But Nikolai Tesla, not you, Elon. Go fuck yourself.
Go to hell, Elon. But For Lee George is great as Appare. For that whole bit where he's just wandering around, not really paying attention to anything, thinking about what he's going to do, and realizes too late that he's riding along on a goat, I think.
It was a donkey.
It was a donkey, just riding along on a donkey, and just gets yeeted right through a front door. And just picks himself up, none the worse for wear. I got a card.
Oh man, I love Moda Sushi.
I really just like how he's able to. I like the arc that Appare goes through. Appare initially is very he's very mono-focused, and he's generally pretty okay with that. Like he's fine. He's gonna build his boat. He's gonna go somewhere. He doesn't really care about the family business. He's fine with that. And then as time goes on and things get a little more dire, when push comes to shove, he kind of you can tell that like he doesn't hate people. He's just bad at interacting with them. And when when the realizations come along that he might lose someone, like not just like, oh, I'll be away and they'll be at home and I'll probably come back at some point, just like he's gonna lose somebody, like that really tears him up. And I think he just does a good job of playing that arc of like kind of realizing internally how much he values other people and what that means to him. I think he also does a good job making Appare sound like an oddball who's really into something very specific without making him sound too like inhuman or flat. Like Appare comes off as like very as a quirky eccentric dude, but also like an actual quirky eccentric dude who you might know, give or take a steam powered car. I can't believe he built a hybrid in the 1880s. That's great. I just watched it. It's like, is this where this started? Did someone think up this joke and just decide, I need to build a show around this joke? This is too good to pass up. George is real. He really, Lee. I think the show, like, everything fires on all cylinders, but I do think like if Appare doesn't come off as a believable person, I feel like a lot of the show can fall flat, because then it's just like, we're just watching some infallible genius do stuff, and that can get really boring after a while. And I think Lee does a really good job of bringing a lot of humanity to Appare and still maintaining what his character actually is. Up until the very end, where he's kind of like, I can't go back to Japan. The future is here. This is where I need to be.
I'm gonna build a plane.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's got to go to space.
Space!
You know what? I
The
like
one
his whole-
place that capitalism can never catch me. Space!
Oh.
Thank you, Command and Conquer 2.
What was it? Yeah, and I especially like his little speech at the end where he thinks Kosame is going to go back to Japan, which, you know, understandable. That's been his whole goal the whole time, and just how, you know, he's not going to try and stop him, but he's going to miss the hell out of him. It's just such a sweet moment to end on. Yeah, like I love everything about this dub, but like I think these two, you know, they're the leads, at least nominally. And these are the performances where if they're not good, like I think a lot of the show suffers for it, and I think they both did a fantastic job. I was really happy with listening to both of them.
All right, let's go with Hardy.
Yay, it's my turn. I actually am gonna have some potentially controversial opinions initially, if you can believe it. When I first listened to Ivan Hasso as Kosame, here's the thing with Ivan Hasso is he has a very noticeable accent. And a lot of times it works to his benefit, sometimes to his detriment, because it is a very noticeable Latin accent. When I was listening to Radiant, it made his character, what was his name?
Dragunov.
Dragunov, right. Gave him this sort of, the suave, debonair, swashbuckler type of character, and really played to Dragunov's overall character, and I think it worked really well. Initially, as Kosame, it was kind of putting off, because you're right, he did sound kind of stiff, mainly because he is very stereotypical, very stern, traditional Japanese samurai kind of guy. And I found it kind of off-putting that we had this very pronounced Latin accent on this very traditional Japanese character. It didn't really sound authentic to me. As it went along, I think it made up for it with Ivan's acting prowess, specifically adding to the development of Kosame's character, if that makes any sense. Like, he put, as Kosame sort of developed as a character and sort of let loose the traditional aspects of him and sort of developed into almost sort of a comic relief, even though he's the straight man to Appare's eccentricities, he did eventually becoming more human and more relatable, and that's when I could really get into it. Again, I think that speaks a lot to Ivan's acting prowess, to make it more believable. Because at first I was not buying this accent coming out of this character, but by the end of it, it felt second nature. That's my main gripe of it, and I can appreciate the evolution up to the point, starting from episode 1 to episode 13. And it's kind of refreshing in episode 13 at the very end, and it seems that Kosame is sort of the comic relief, and Appare has become the straight man at the very end, because he's the one cracking jokes. He's like, I thought you were hit on the other side. He's like, that's American comedy for you. But yeah, I think mainly it speaks to an evolution over the course of the series, which is what I appreciate most of the performance. Lee George's Appare did not sync with me at first, because Appare starts out as basically very aloof, very emotionless, kind of just the only times that he really shows any emotion at all is when he's driving. Otherwise, he's either sleeping or he's just completely ignoring everyone while he's tinkering. And when he's in conversation with someone, especially during the earlier episodes, he has a robotic sort of delivery to him. He's the textbook eccentric. as he goes on and Appare sort of learns and develops and grows as a person and learns, hey, he becomes more human, and at times you do get more of a softness in his voice, or even more of a harshness in his voice, depending on his mood. And I think it all culminates after Kosame has been shot, and then he just realizes, hey, this is what emotion actually feels like. Because he's been thinking logically his entire life, and now all of a sudden he's thinking emotionally, and it just gets to him and it breaks down. And that moment when Appare realizes that, hey, Kosame may very well not survive, and it's just sort of an emotional tour de force at that point. And I think Lee really pulled it off at that moment. There were a couple of performances that I had to grow into, but by the end of it, I think that they pulled it off very well. If that makes any sense.
Awesome. Thanks, Artie. And then, Patrick, I think you're the last person to go.
All right. Honestly, I think I'll start with, start the way everybody else did. Start with Yvonne. I see the complaints that he was a little too stiff at first. I see where they're coming from. But having finished the show, I think it was the absolutely appropriate choice to do what they did. Especially as the character progresses and more of his personality gets a chance to shine. He seems a lot less... he loosens up. And you can definitely see that in Yvonne's performance. And it really does fit. One of the things that really kind of stuck out for me was the scene where you think he dies after he gets shot. Appare is sort of in the medical ward, and he's weeping for his friend, and then all of a sudden Kosame blows the sheet of paper covering his face off, and yeah, he's faking it.
I was genuinely like, Kosame, you troll! Your friend is worried sick about you, and you're trying to play a prank.
Kosame, not the time. Pissed. Also, I don't know if you guys could hear it during Patrick talking. Shinya has decided that right now it is time for her to sing the song of her people at me.
Oh no!
So I also have to pet her and awkwardly aim myself towards the microphone. As she demands pets. She demands tribute. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, his stoicism, it really fit the character. It's really... I like what Yvonne did with him. It's hard to put to words, but... everything I've heard Yvonne in, he has just knocked the character out of the park. So a very solid thumbs up for him. Lee George, honestly, after hearing him here and in Smile Down the Runway, his vocal range scares me. Legitimately. Like, he is... I hope he gets more, like, lead stuff in Funimation, maybe even beyond. Because he is very... What's the word I'm looking for? He's versatile. A vocal chameleon. He has a lot of versatility. I was about to say versatility. I am tired. Versatility. He's very versatile as an actor. And, I know Season 3 of Free was kind of an awkward one. But then again, the entire... I'm sort of in the same boat as Megan, as the entire dub of Free is a little awkward. But... Lee George has really had the opportunity to prove himself as... like, a very standout actor, just for the sheer fact of how much he can do with his own voice. And he's also a very talented actor as well. So that 1-2 punch is something I really hope Funimation can find, like, a lot of really cool shit for him to do. As for his particular performance as Appare, I genuinely like the fact that he started to play Appare as almost robotic in the first episode. Almost like the Bad Brothers, it seemed like he was functioning on pure id. Granted, a smarter aspect of his id, but it felt like he was just as impulsive as they are. And over the course of the show, he sort of warms up to people and allows himself to think beyond rational. And he gets to do a lot of cool stuff. So these two lead performances are very solid. Definite thumbs up. But I'm going to pass this on to final thoughts.
Alright, awesome. Final thoughtsy time. I'm gonna let this start off with Amon.
This show's great. I love this show. It's wonderful. This is a really fun show. This dub is really well put together. I almost don't know how to sell this if, like, if an anachronistic car race in the Old West starring, like a samurai, a kung fu master, a French fencer, his semi-girlfriend, and at least, like, 3 to 5 excellent gunslingers does not make you want to watch this. I really don't know how to help you, man. That's on you. This is fantastic. I loved every second of it. And you should go watch it when you get the chance, and we'll tell you how later.
Thanks, Amon. Hardy.
From the starting line to the checkered flag, it ran smooth. It was entertaining. It was emotional. It was hilarious, and it's just altogether a good show. If you like fun things, then you should definitely watch this.
Awesome. Patrick. Or Root, sorry. I keep using his real name because I use it around my mom.
I don't think he minds it.
I mean, I don't. So, from start to finish, Appare-Ranman is very well put together. I know a lot of people have kind of given it a little flack for really kind of slowing down in the first half and then bullet training through the second. I think it's fine. I do feel like another extra couple of episodes might have helped it along, but from what we get, it's just this really solid, fun, action-packed, just little adventure. And being 13 episodes is, like, the perfect length to binge-watch it. Even though, as I have said before, I very infamously do not like binge-watching shows. I like to take them in little couple episode batches at a time. This show actually ended up being very easy to watch. I watched it all of yesterday, and it felt absolutely fun to sit through and watch it end to end. I could not recommend this highly enough. And the dub is one of the most fun dubs I've had the pleasure of watching all year. So very solid thumbs up all around.
Alrighty, my turn. So I was always super excited for the show, like, since I saw the first trailer. I like a lot of PA work stuff. This is, like, a lot of, like, originally I thought I was like, this is the wacky races. And then it was actually, like, a little, like, wacky and dramatic. But this dub is really good. And there's a reason it got a lot of fan vote nominations. It is an absolute blast to listen to. It is an absolute joy to watch. It is so smooth. It has a fun cast. It has great writing, snappy banter. Absolutely fun direction. I know that Caitlin has worked on a couple of things this year, mostly Fruits Basket. This is just as good of a watch as that. If you want to watch a fun show with a great dub maybe get to meet some actors and listen to performances that maybe, like, you've heard them as, like, maybe one or two characters in the show, but you want to, like, get to hear them more. This is a great dub for that. This is a dub that you could easily sit down somebody who doesn't watch a lot of anime and get them to watch. It's an absolute joy, and I'm so glad that it got to come out this year. If you would like to watch Appare-Ranman, you can watch it on Funimation in both sub and dub. Linky in the description below. If you like the things that we do here, we are the Dub Talk Podcast. We do reviews for shows, movies, things. Sometimes I make people play games. If you'd like to support us as a one-time donation, we do have a Ko-fi. And if you'd like to support us on the reg, you can via Patreon. And I'd like to give a shout out to our wonderful Patreons. At our $5 tier, Crimson Echidna, Michelle Travis, Miracula Corazon, Nico Robin, but with Yowie Hands, and Victor Mayborda. And our $10 tier, Carly Lestical, Jacob Wilson, J2, aka Jared, Marissa Lenti, and Otaku Anthony. If you'd like to listen to us, you can listen to us on YouTube, Spotify. I believe we're on Apple.
I think so.
Yeah, I think we are.
Okay, cool.
It's just the
iTunes.
one that doesn't really get a lot of spotlight right now.
Yeah. Yeah, you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, YouTube. And if you'd like to follow us, Hardy, where can you be found?
Well, I used to be a Funimation forum moderator, but the forums are dead, so that's no longer accurate. You can follow me at Spaceman Hardy at Twitter. I mainly just retweet art these days, and that's basically it. But I'm fun to listen to every now and then. So,
Patrick.
Yeah, I am Roots of Justice. You can find me on the twitter.com at Roots of Justice. Mainly retweet cute animal pics, talk general fandom stuff, writing reviews that'll go on my blog when they are finally ready to go. I will announce them via said Twitter.
And Amon.
I'm Amon. You can find me on Twitter at AmonDuelUS. I talk about movies and comic books, and you can see me give a very long tweet thread about Chainsaw Man until I either get bored or forget to do it, or get too tired to do it. And I also talk about music, and I have a dusty old song if people would enjoy it.
I already know what it's gonna be. I already know what it's gonna be.
Well,
if it's not, I'm gonna be very surprised.
I have two, actually, because there are two that sprung to mind. As you can tell, I have Cannonball Run on the brain.
Oh, of course. It's Ray Stevens' Cannonball is one of them.
Absolutely. Yep. So for the opening
as
credits.
As a big former Ray Stevens fan, I wasn't going to let you get off without.
Oh, no, we're going to have that. But I want to have another choice, because there's another musician who's near and dear to my heart in there. There's a main theme to Cannonball Run, and when they were deciding this, they thought, hey, we need something really smooth here. We need something so smooth. We don't need a regular brass instrument to play this. We don't need a trumpet or a trombone. We need a flugelhorn. And if you need a flugelhorn in the 1970s, you get Chuck Mangione to do it.
Yeah!
Because it feels so good. So yeah, go listen to both of those. And watch Cannonball Run. It's a delightful movie. If you enjoy this, is it a little dated? Like, anything from 1980 is going to be dated, but, like, it's a fun romp regardless. Go try it out.
Hi, I'm Megan. You can follow me at QueenEra2, where I shitpost on the regular and post pictures of my favorite pets, including, come here, you. You have sung the song of your people for the last 10 minutes, you little brat. You can't see it, but I have picked up Shinya because she is being a brat.
Well, what else is new?
My mom calls her a little bitch sometimes. Before we put the ornaments on our tree, she got into the tree.
Oh, no.
I love you, baby. You get to stay in mommy's arm. And that's what she does when she gets picked up. Anyway, you can follow me at QueenEra2. I post pictures of Shinya, shitpost, retweet a lot of art, mostly Fire Emblem and gay Chinese characters. I'm gonna rephrase that. Hi, I'm Megan. I post a lot of pictures of my cat Shinya, my dog Bailey, and retweet lots and lots and lots of Fire Emblem and MXTX art. Anyway, that's it, guys. We've crossed the finish line. We can all do what every good person does when they get to New York City. And that's eat pizza from a eat pizza from a hole-in-the-wall joint that might be questionable, but we're not going to Chipotle, not after the rats fought, though. Not after the rats fought the employees. So with that, I say good night and otaku on.
Boogity, boogity,
Otaku
boogity,
on,
amen.
Rock over Boston, rock on Chicago.
And Chicago pizza is not pizza, it's a meat pie.
Oh no, not the comments section.
John Stewart has entered the chat.
Is this a thing I saw that someone was talking about? Some random, like, gaming YouTuber is doing a fast food thing or something? I don't know.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? It's still... And that to me is weirder than whatever the fucking carp thing was.
Carp!
Garp.
Carp.
And for 2 hours, Twitter was fun again.
I guess it was
Carp-
just some
I guess you could
guy
say-
gaming the promotional tweets.
That's what it sounds like.
I guess you could really say he carpe diem'd.
I hope he didn't.
It's good.
I hope he didn't click too much, or he'd get carpal tunnel.
These are definitely going in the sizzle reel at the end of the episode.
I guess you could say he was at a magic car pit ride. Anyway, Amon, I'm so sorry.
No, please, I don't mind at all.